I'm back. Not that I was here for a long time anyway, but what better way to start off on the right foot than to just get straight into it, right? I'm gonna be going through all the books that are on my shelf, on my physical bookshelf, that I have not yet read, but I've collected over the past couple of years, and I'm just gonna get into it. Okay, so the first book I have read most of, and I'm damn near finishing it, is Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. Beautifully written, and it's an amazing topic. Toni Morrison's writing is so dense because she manages to talk about the psyche, like the human psyche, in a way that it takes a couple days to completely digest. So it's taken me some time to read this from when I bought it a few months ago to like get through this much of it. Next is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Picked up based off of a review that I saw online, and I'm not so sure about how I'm gonna react to the 80s nostalgia. I don't know if I'll enjoy it, but I think I just have to read it since I have the book. Next is DUNE by Frank Herbert. I picked this up when I was in high school because I liked the way the cover looked. I feel like I could really enjoy being immersed in this world, so I'm gonna give this a go. And next I have Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and picked this up because I saw it on sale at Goodwill. I think that I could enjoy the setting and also just like the mystery of this main character. This is a historical fiction. It's the one and only one in my collection because I'm not a fan. The Nightingale by KRISTIN Hanna. I saw this on a review as well, on BookTube, I think. Once I bought the book used, I just never came around to reading it again because historical fiction does not appeal to me. Next is like a feel-good YA novel. I'm pretty sure it's considered YA, but it has a lot of social commentary that I feel like is like somewhat subtly done. You can still tell what some of the statements in this book is referring to, but it's The House in the Cerulean Sea. This is also a review that I saw on YouTube or BookTube, and had to pick it up because some of like the conversations in this book that I knew about before purchasing the book kind of got into topics that are close to home for me. So I picked it up and I figured like I could lend it to my younger cousins or my siblings to read, and I feel like they'd enjoy it. So figured I'd give it a go. Other standalone fiction is GRIEVES by Adrienne Marie Brown. So this book I picked up at a local Black woman-owned bookstore. I went in with no intention of like actually buying this book because I had no idea it existed. However, the owner of the bookstore recommended it to me and I couldn't say no, of course. So I bought it and here I am. Next book I have to talk about is The Shining by Stephen King. I went on a kick a couple years back reading a bunch of Stephen King novels, including Misery and Pet Sematary and the like, and I just never read The Shining even though I owned it. Part of the reason why is because the only copy that I own is this one. It's in shambles somewhat. I try to do my best to fix it without messing it up too much. Another spooky-ish book that I picked up, Dracula by Bram Stoker. I picked this up after reading Frankenstein, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I really love that book. And I wanted the same essence of the book, but just in a different one. But I never read it. All right, to get into the series that I have not yet finished. Series is one of them. Is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. I still have to read the second half of the series. I was buddy reading this with my best friend and she went ahead and finished all of them before I even got to like the fourth one. And she said she didn't have as great of a time as she did with the first three books, so I kept putting these off. The last series that I have yet to finish is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. We all know and love this series, but I read the first book and a half and I have to finish the half of the second one and the rest of them. And as you can see, they're just quite large. You have to really sit down and read these, you know? It's a lot to digest. So kind of transitioning into some of the classics that I haven't read. you will see a common theme. A lot of them look like they are about to fall apart, hence the reason why I don't want to pick them up to read them. I don't want to mess them up. The reason why I preface that, or this section of this video with that, is because The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, which I have read half of, is one of the books that I feel like is just going to I picked it up and I read halfway, stopped for a while, and then just never picked it up again. This also discusses some heavy topics, and I don't think I was in the right mindset at the time to read it or to complete it, but I think I can get around to it now. The next one is The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, and another like detective type novel. I do look forward to it, and I feel like it'd be a short read. Don't know much about it, but look forward to it. Is MOLL Flanders by Daniel Defoe. Now I bought this because the cover is stunning, like beautiful. I've gotten through 100 pages of about 350, and there are no chapters in this book, which, you know, is a little grueling to get through because there is no good place to stop and start again. All right, so next I have The Picture of Dorian Gray. I bought this edition from Barnes & Noble's for a couple dollars, like maybe $5. Could be right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to reading this in the new year as well. So now I have Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, and I've read just a chunk of it. The pace is quite slow, I think, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I just had some trouble getting through a lot of it. Next is George Orwell's Animal Farm, and this book I actually got for my boyfriend, but I mean, he doesn't read. It was supposed to be like the start of his collection of books he has read, but you know, it's on our bookshelf, so I figured I'd give it a read. What I also picked up from my used bookstore is The Best of Walden, Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau, and this feels like I would be reading for school again, and so hence why I have not yet read it or picked it up to read it. This book I have read already, but I read it for school back in high school. It's The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, and while I have read it before, I feel like I could read or understand what's going on a little bit better this time around because the language is quite difficult to, or at the time it was difficult to really understand. Next is The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I truly have no idea what this is about, and don't shame me on it, but I picked it up because I know that it's a classic, and I know that there are like cultural references to this, but I just, you know, I got the book, just never read it. So yeah. I have Adventures of Huckleberry Finn right here by Mark Twain. I know it's a classic, so I bought it when I had the opportunity to and haven't read it. This is a tale as old as time for me. This is Jane Eyre. This book, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say how I got this book on the internet, but I think I accidentally over borrowed this book, let's say, because when I found it in my collection again, I realized that it still had my like library stamp on it, so I'm not going to show that. Glad I have it at least in my possession because it has this gold like foiling. The classics is Les Mis, and of course I have not yet read this either. I bought this book a few years ago off of a cart in a Rite Aid. It was like a used book cart. They were selling for like $1 or $2 each. The more you bought, the less you had to spend. So I got this with a bunch of other books. Two, I guess, collections of books that I have. They're not series, they're collections in one book. This one is The Essential Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. There was a time in my life, in my teens, I would say, like my teen angst years, where I was obsessed with Poe, and I bought this book in college thinking I could rekindle whatever love I had for his works. But of course, this book is gigantic, and I told myself, oh, I can read, you know, a poem or two or a tale or two a day, and I never did. The second and last collection of works that I have in one book is this beautiful, beautiful classic works of women writers book, Friend, Sierra. got me for Secret Santa, I believe it was. This is more of like a showcase on your bookshelf versus like annotate and freaking highlight and shit all over the book type of book, you know what I mean? I have some non-fictions that I've picked up, 3 of which I picked up because they pertain to my like my study, college for ecology and anthropology. And so the first is Finding Our Niche, toward a restorative human ecology. I've got The Limits to Growth and You Are Here, exposing the vital link between what we do and what that does to our planet. The first I bought for a book club. It was the ecological or environmental anthro class that I was taking. The professor for that was hosting the book club, but I couldn't ever join any of the book club meetings, so I bought the book thinking that I would get a chance to read it eventually, which I have not yet. Limits to Growth I bought at Goodwill. It was on sale, and I was interested in knowing what conversations were being had at this time. This book was published in 1972 or 74, I believe, and I think I've just been afraid of like picking up this book to actually dive into what discussions happen in this book, because I'm not sure which direction this book is gonna go. And then this one, I picked it up because I saw it on sale at a bookstore in Colorado while I was there for just like a weekend. And I really lucked out because it was on sale, but I just have not yet read it. Another nonfiction book that I have is The Body Keeps Score. Now, I don't tend to read books like this. The reason why I picked this book up was because I read In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I felt like I needed to kind of unpack my own trauma, I guess. And I just want to learn more about myself. Okay, and the last 2 books that I have are Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Finding Me. So both of these are memoirs. I've been looking to read this because I believe the author is a mortician, and I just feel like I'd have a great time with this book because I've been loving memoirs lately. And obviously Finding Me by Viola Davis. She is just such an amazing actress. Bought this book at that Black woman-owned bookstore along with GRIEVES, and I didn't go into that bookstore with any plans to buy anything, but she told me, because I was looking at Finding Me to purchase, the owner told me that she had signed copies, so of course I bought myself a signed copy and I ran with it. I just have not yet opened this book to read because if I take this dust cover off, the book itself is white, and I'm quite a messy person, so I don't want to ruin the book, obviously. That was the collection of books on my bookshelf. I think there are 35. My plans are to get to them in the new year, and maybe I can come up with like a specific plan for my 2023 TBR, which includes these books sporadically. I don't want to bombard myself with a bunch of books that I already have because it kind of takes away from the excitement of owning and buying and expanding your collection. I do read a lot of books electronically or digitally, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm just really happy to be doing this again, getting in front of a camera and like talking about my interests. I'm really grateful for you all for staying to the end while I talked about all the books that I have yet to read. And stay tuned to see me read these books. I would love to get into reading vlogs and content like that. Thanks for chatting with me. Can't wait to see you at the next one.